I'm ready. I'm ready. Well, I saw you were jailing a kid. Now, what happened?
Bro, don't even. I don't even want to talk about it, bro. It's just crazy, bro. It's the worst raid in the history in the game, bro.
Oh shit!
What what
Why
what
not
what
Behemoth?
what raid? What raid is the worst for you?
What raid? So if we're going old school, I'd say something like Triangle probably. Something
Yeah.
like Triangle would probably take the all-time for a lot worse for me. Yeah, I really did not like that raid. Although they made it better. They made it better,
But wait,
but yeah.
when it was 4 gates or
Oh my god, 4-gate Triangle? No, 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 no.
Jesus, bro.
Yeah.
Nah, I think Echidna armor for me, but I feel like it's the worst raid. Like a lot of people mess up on everything pretty much.
Yeah, I think
I don't know
for me
why.
Echidna's fine because I like raids where it's really good if you have a strong primate, and I think Echidna's one of those raids because you have a
Right,
lot
that's
of group
exactly what I keep
mechanics.
saying, bro. With
Yeah,
pre-image, with statics, yeah.
yeah, with primates it feels like a lot better. Yeah,
Right.
it's kind of like it felt the same when like way back when we were doing Belshazzar Gate 5 as well, where everyone was complaining about it, but I had a static,
Oh,
so
so it
we
was good,
were doing
right?
fine.
That's a
Yeah, yeah,
different. That's what I tell people. It's a different experience when you have a static group and then when you
definitely,
actually
definitely.
pogging, right?
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's big. But yeah, let's begin with the guide. Just go live here
Yep,
on Discord,
yep, yep.
and then I'll just capture your
My screen, yeah.
yeah. I
All right,
freaking
let me know if everything's fine. Also, you might need to mute it if you hear me twice or something.
no, that's fine. Let me see. It'll be fine. Let me go right here. So it'll be right monitor. That looks fine, guys. Right for the Paladin. So for those that don't know, this one is going to be music right here.
Hello, hello.
This one right here. Shout out to my homie Paladin Giga Chat. Tema the third.
Yep, yep.
And yeah, we're gonna go with the 8 topics, and then at the end of it, questions, okay? And the
Yeah,
answer.
yeah, yeah. All
Esconde
right,
la foto de
so
abajo. Wait.
you
How
want me
can
to go over or?
they want me to how you do this? Because you guys asked me before para que se vea más grande. ¿Cómo se hace? How you do this? Eh,
So,
they want me
yeah, I can just
to
go over this.
they want me to esa flechita de abajo. Push down the arrows. Okay. There you go. Okay, perfect. Okay. All right. Let's go. So we're gonna go first
With Arc Passive, right?
with the evolution, yeah.
Yeah. So, this is me right now. Like, there's on supports, there's really not much you can do about Arc Passive. First 3, spec 10, swiftness 3. On some other supports, especially on Bard, you could go a bit more on spec. On Paladin, it's not really worth it. So you just go full swiftness, 10 spec. No, nothing strange here. For the second, third 3, again, all supports are doing the same thing. Nothing really you can experiment on. That's it. The only 3 you could talk a little bit about is the last 3. So I'm running MP Furnace right now on Paladin. In general, Paladin has, especially with tier 4, it has a lot better mana regen than all the other 2 supports. Like before tier 4, Artist was like the support for mana regen normally. But with tier 4, Paladin is actually the best support for mana regen, and we're gonna go into that later when we go into Enlightenment 3. But because of that, on Paladin, it actually doesn't feel bad to run Mana Furnace. Like, and I'm not. I mean, we can just skip a little bit here just to engraving. I'm not even running max MP engraving on Paladin. I'm just running Magic Stream,
Yeah.
and I'm still running MP Furnace, and it doesn't really affect my mana that much. You're sometimes gonna run out of mana, but the thing about Paladin is the moment you press Aura, you stop. Like you're spamming your skills, right, to get into to feel Aura,
Right.
and you might run out of mana by the time you get towards Aura. But the moment you press Aura, you activate your Enlightenment. We're gonna go over, and then you also you're not spamming your you don't spam your Light of Judgment anymore. You don't spam your Holy Sword anymore. You don't spam like if you're running some other skills anymore. You're just spamming your buffs.
Wow.
the moment you have aura. And because of that, you're not really gonna run out of mana. You're gonna recover all of your mana while in aura. So MP Furnace, I would say it's probably like it's the safer bet compared to Standing Striker, because if you want to play Standing Striker, you kind of have to be really good. The way this this arc passive works is if you're gonna have the same amount of brand power as MP Furnace, but the downside of Standing Striker is if you get hit, as in if you get paralysis or pushed, you're gonna lose stacks, and then your brand power is gonna go down in power, right? Compared to in MP Furnace, you always have max brand power, but your skills are gonna cost more mana. So I would say Artist and Bard are probably gonna be looking into this arc passive a lot more. But on Paladin, you're actually chilling just playing MP Furnace. There's no real need to try hard with Standing Striker because you have so much mana. So yeah,
that's huge, bro.
That's pretty much it for
I
us.
actually learned something already because on my Paladin, when I
Yeah.
had the aura, I actually was pressing everything still, and you just press your buff. That's actually pretty good.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. During aura, you want to. I mean, it's not bad to be like in a rotation, just to
Right.
be like in the zone,
And
right?
the
But at the same
habit, right?
time, you're kind of griefing your
Your
mana.
mana, right?
And another thing is, Light of Judgment is like a massive aura builder for you. And the problem is, if you're gonna be using it off cooldown while in your aura, you kind of want to use it the moment you're out of aura to start building already. So
Right, that
you
makes
don't want
sense.
this skill on cooldown, right?
That's huge.
So yeah. All right. Are we going to Enlightenment? So this is the boring part of arc passive.
Right.
Like DPS classes are generally like looking at this and then be like, oh, this thing is pretty cool. This thing is pretty cool. And like, I'm not gonna lie, Paladin has like quite a bit of changes here, but there's also a lot of boring stuff. And then if we go over it, the first one is this is just basically the old Blessed Aura engraving. The first two, nothing special, right? The third tree is where it makes a difference. While you're in Aura, you increase natural resource recovery by 15%. This we used to not have. That's why I'm saying Paladin now is the best mana regen class in the game when it comes to supports. It recovers all combat resources by 15% as long as Aura is up, right? So that's why I'm saying also, if you run out of mana by the time you get into Aura, you just press Aura, you're not using other skills, and you're gonna have an extra mana recovery as well, right? So this is the first difference. The next difference, this one is the huge one. This one is what made me personally, I have 2 Paladins, and I pushed my second Paladin to 1680 as well, just because I really wanted to have this tree.
That's true, right?
Yeah, because let me go back to it. Because this is where the change happened. So if we go over it, right? First of all, it increases aura range. It actually aura looks so massive when you have this. Like you're gonna see, but aura looks huge. But the next thing are the interesting part. First of all, is you can use aura when your meter is at 75%. You don't need to go all the way to 100 to use aura. It makes it up for like a lot of like sometimes you would just use aura early in order to like catch someone's igniter or catch someone bursting or so. Like so this can help a lot, right?
That's crazy.
Or like sometimes like a boss would get staggered. You're at 75%. Right. You don't have to go to 100%. You just use aura then, right?
What?
Obviously, the aura duration is shorter if you use that, but at the same time, yeah, it made changes. And then there's the second thing. That's, in my opinion, the biggest part of this is now if you cancel aura, you regain 70% of your existing aura. So let's say the boss does a bad pattern, the boss lives or something, I just cancel aura, I'm at 70%, I cancel it, I start at 50% aura. You don't lose as much for having aura.
What the hell?
So this is why I pushed my second Paladin to 1680 as well, because right now I cannot imagine playing Paladin without this anymore. And it makes Paladin like a bit more interesting as a class. Like before this, like Paladin is definitely the simplest of supports. Like if anyone is interested in playing support, if you want to like have like the easiest one or like the one that's the most simple, it's definitely Paladin.
Yeah.
But this tree definitely makes Paladin a lot more complex than it was like this one tree, right? So as long as by the way, also putting more points into this is kind of worthless because it only increases aura range, but it's already so huge that you don't really need it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It doesn't change anything else. So, and then when you go to side trees, this one, it gives more healing when aura is active. It's kind of useless. Like your aura already heals, it heals enough. Like there's no real need for extra 1% healing. So we don't really go into this. This tree, all supports have this tree. It's basically when you use aura, you also apply brand to the boss.
No way.
Yeah, right now we have every support has a lot of buttons to press, right? You walk up to the boss, I have to press Heavenly Blessing, I have to press Sword of Justice, I have to press Aura, I have to press my T skill, right? That's 4 skill that you have to press. And this one node allows you to press 1 skill less, right? So I don't have to use Sword of Justice to get all of my buffs off. I just press Heavenly Blessing as we run to the boss. I use Aura applies Brand. I use T-Skill, and then afterwards I can use Brand. It helps your uptime a little bit, right? So that's why, in my opinion, if you're playing support on 1680, get 2 ancient accessories. Doesn't really matter what they are. Just get 2 ancient accessories in order to get this node here and 1 point in this node, and you're chilling. As long as you have like like level 70 and World Boss Potion and stuff like that, right?
Giga shot.
So yeah, this is basically the tree. This is where the changes happen for Paladin, right? And then for Leap 3, this one's a bit weird because a lot of people are playing a lot of different things on Ark.
That's good to have you here, but because for that specific reason, because people might use different things, and then I'm pretty sure based on El Wine.
Right.
Thank you for the raid, brother. Hopefully tomorrow you can be here. I love you.
Oh, huge. But yeah, so basically, this is basically what you always hold. The T-skill cooldown is the only thing that you really, that's the big thing, right? 10% T-skill cooldown. It's for your buff up time, stuff like that. Great. And then 3 points into instant spell. Sometimes you could do something like 2 points into it, because as I said, Paladin is not that mana hungry, and go 4 points into Awakening if you want to have some better Awakening. Sometimes if you really want more mana, you go 3 points into it. In general, this is my suggestion. If your Hyper Awakening can make a difference on a fight, let's say you're bussing, let's say you need some burst at some point or something, then you want to commit as much points to Hyper Awakening as possible. Obviously, you still want 2 points in this, because otherwise your T skill is out of the world expensive. Right now, if you're playing Paladin without the Arc passive, you guys probably know that T skill just murders your mana. You have to eat food and everything. And this one node helps that a lot. But yeah, you can play 2 points is fine, but in general, you just play 3 points, and it doesn't really make that big of a difference whether you have 10% more Hyper Awakening damage or not. Now, this node is interesting only for support. It is very, very difficult to play around, so I'll show it. What it says is that when your Hyper Awakening skill meter is full, your Awakening skill remaining cooldown is minus 30%. Now, when you read this for the first time, the way you think is that, as long as my bar is full, my Awakening cooldown will always be 30% lower. But that is actually not what it means. What this means is the moment your bar fills, that exact moment,
you have the 30 seconds.
Your Awakening, you get 30% reduction on your Awakening. Which means that if you have 10 seconds left on Awakening cooldown and your bar fills, you're gonna get your Awakening is gonna go minus 30%, so you're gonna go 7 seconds. You basically get nothing from this.
That's not good.
This is very difficult. This is very difficult to play around. I played around with it a couple times, and it's actually not bad if you don't really need Awakening damage. It's not that bad, because if you time a lot of things correctly, especially as I said now, you can use your aura early, cancel it early, stuff like that, right? You do this kind of things in a raid. You can time it so that you use your Awakening right before your Awakening, your Hyper Awakening fills up. So then your Awakening cooldown, instead of a full 1 minute 20 cooldown, is a 40-second cooldown, 45 seconds.
Wow, that's huge.
It's very difficult to pull. It's very difficult to pull off in an average raid, and I would definitely not recommend this to anyone that plays casually, Paladin a bit more casually.
Right.
But it's definitely something that people can play around. But at the same time, let's say you're gonna your Awakening will do instead of 1.6 bill, it's gonna do 2 bill. Maybe it's just fine for that 400 mil to just go for this, right? You cannot miss it with just going for some more of this. So my suggestion right now by default is 3153 here. Also, this is just, it gives you more Awakening charges. As it stands right now with Paladin, on a average eggier hard mode group, you will run out of Awakenings if you spam them. So getting some awakening charges is pretty nice. So getting 1 extra awakening charge here can because Paladin is kind of like bound to awakening with your aura uptime, right? Because it feels so much of your. So running out of awakening in a raid is kind of like a no-go. You lose your uptime by a lot.
That makes sense.
So having 1 point in awakening is pretty good here. So yeah, that's pretty much Paladin arc passive in a nutshell. These 3 things.
All right, so now we go with the skills and the tripods and runes, this is huge as well too, because people like me, I haven't. It's funny because yesterday I was changing my skills and a little bit of my tripods because I haven't touched my stuff for like 2 years, bro, since August. Yeah, that's just scam, but I see. I don't wanna touch that.
Especially on supports, right? It's because these classes kind of haven't gotten changed since the start. Yes. I'm personally running a chaos build from week 1 when I started the game still. But at the same time, like for chaos, it doesn't really matter. But for raids, some people are just running the same things as well. So yeah, we can go over this. So first of all, like this skills being level 14, 10, nothing matters. I guess level 14 does a little bit more damage. There's a couple times where you want to like kill a blob or something. Example, a Khan Gate 1 where you kill a blob, you like having more points in a skill. It's like could be better, right? So you don't need to use 2 skills. So you can put 14 points in skills that like generally do more damage, your blue skills, but in general it doesn't really matter, okay? In terms of mana or anything. So this is my default build. I think this is like one of the most default builds for Paladin. First of all, Holy Sword, the premier counter, the best counter in the game. With these 3 tripods, you could have this on 4 and 5. It really doesn't matter. For Paladin, tripods matter very little. Attack speed here is nice, but this level 1, level 5 don't matter, right? So it's just for damage, which again you're not really doing. So there's it. And I'm running Paladin is one of the best burst stagger classes in the game, and it also with your engravings, which we're gonna touch on later, it allows you to play Vital Point pretty easily. So I'm playing some overwhelms here just to alleviate some stagger stress from my party. But you can definitely play. With the last balance patch, what they did for Paladin is that, you know how if you played as in engraving, you played Judgment engraving before. Some Paladins would run Judgment 1 because Judgment 1 made your blue skills feel more meter. Right. With the last balance patch on Paladin, they actually applied that to all blue skills without having to run Judgment. Interesting. So Holy Sword now actually builds a pretty good meter. So there is a meter build that I will show afterwards as well, that I have, and on that build I'm actually running Holy Sword with Wealth on it, and I spam it for meter gen. But that's like a greedy meter gen or uptime kind of build. I'm gonna touch on that later as well. Next one is Sword of Justice. There is a lot of discussion between Paladins right now for brand. I'm personally still like favoring Sword of Justice for a couple reasons. But there's also people that are starting to run Holy Explosion now. The reason why Holy Explosion can be run now is because they reduced its cooldown by I think 6 seconds. So you can actually have perma brand uptime with this skill, and it's like it's a pretty good skill to use. It's a pretty easy brand to hit. It's definitely like very comparable to Light Shock. It also has a better stagger than Sword of Justice if you really need that. Although, again, if you're running this default build with overwhelms, you don't need more stagger on Paladin. And also, like the good thing is like it's pretty much like an insta cast with the tripods now. But the only problem with this skill is that if you miss it, it's kind of like an artist brand, and it's a bit harder still to hit an artist brand. But you guys understand what artist brand, right? It's a 10-second brand that it's a 10-second cooldown brand. You miss it, you don't have brand for 10 seconds.
10 seconds, right?
Yeah. Here on Sword of Justice, my current cooldown is roughly like 3-4 seconds on it, right? So I miss it, okay, it's no problem. I get it back up in 3 to 4 seconds. Right. Yeah. It takes a little bit of getting used to it. But again, for tripods, you run the first one for cooldown plus cast range with Vestige, and then this one you don't need to have level 5, so you just run whatever. This allows you to if the swords will hit multiple times, and your effective brand uptime from the moment you hit those swords, if the boss is sitting in the brand for the entire duration, is 12 seconds. Wow! It is a 4-second cooldown skill with 12-second uptime. Wow! Right, so That is why I'm running Sword of Justice, because it gives you such a like long brand. It allows you also, you don't need to rush your brand, right? Let's say you're running Light Shock, or you're running Holy Explosion, right? You have your Light of Judgment up, and you have like one of your brand up. You're gonna use your brand. Right. If in my case, I have my Light of Judgment from meter up, or I have Sword of Justice, I'm actually gonna use my Light of Judgment first, right? I don't need to rush my brand because it's already up, so I can like. It kind of like lets you flex a little bit like that in terms of which skill you prioritize. You don't have to prioritize your brand as highly anymore with this. That's why I like it. Plus, it's probably one of the best quick recharge proccers like that Paladin has. So, and this can like actually like make a little bit of a difference, especially for Paladins with maybe worse elixirs, maybe without Magic Stream, maybe with a bit less swiftness. Maybe with War's Gems and Heavenly Blessing, this quick recharge can often like reduce your Heavenly Blessing cooldown a little bit, and it makes your uptime that much better. So that's why I'm running Sword of Justice. Oosh. Again, there's no real wrong answer with going in Light Shock and Holy Explosion, but from my experience, Sword of Justice like has netted me the highest uptime. Especially, there's also sometimes time where you kind of have to leave the boss, do something on the side. Example, it was like Belshazzar, Gate 5, Hell mode. I've been playing a bit of Hell mode, right? Yeah. And then you just send sort of like you have like a black star. You have to collect those orbs, right? And then you lose your uptime. But then you just use Sword of Justice on the boss. Your brand is there for 12 seconds instead of like less, right? And you just collect your orbs like in the meantime. So that's why I'm using this one.
I'm glad that you said that sometimes it doesn't really matter if you use one over another based on preferences, because sometimes you see somebody using certain skill and you think that person is doing it wrong, but in reality they're not. They're just more comfortable with using that skill, huh?
That's for sure. I think Light Shock is the more like default and like basic one. It gives you like a lot of it gives you like a very safe one, a safe brand, right? Because there's also no push immune on Sword of Justice. It also like has a little bit of a delay on it. This is just you press it, you have paralysis immune, and you get it off. The problem is with this is like your build is very centered around spamming Light Shock off cooldown, so you kind of have to tailor to that.
That's annoying.
So I'd definitely say like Light Shock is a bit more beginner, to get like the uptime up. And then like maybe Sword of Justice is a bit more advanced brand for Paladin. And I would say like Holy Explosion is like a little bit in between them, probably. So yeah. Alright, next skill, Light of Judgment, your best meter gen in the game.
Interesting.
You're running 1, 2, 2. You're running max Welt on legendary Welt on it. It fills a lot of meter. It's generally the good thing about this build is like with the latest patch, they also gave it a weak point. Paladin always had a very bad weak point, but with the latest patch, they actually gave it a Light of Judgment as well. So you have that on it as well. So yeah, you just spam it for meter as much as you can. That's pretty much it. Holy Protection, there's a couple things you can do here. Normally on the first one, actually, I don't know why. I don't have this one max because 20% move speed is generally like what's gonna push everyone like to max anyway. So it doesn't really matter whether you max this or not. That's why I'd never bothered maxing this one. But you can max quick pace. Some people use quick fingers just to make sure that the Holy Protection goes up faster, but I think it's like really unnecessary. I think it's fine to get used to it and just run quick pace. It can help. There's a lot of times where it can help. Like there's a lot of times now that we have to run Echidna Gate 1. There's a lot of running. Tiamine Gate 2. There's running, right? There's just like a lot of running, like in the game right now in between gates. And quick pace like can really like help that, especially with some slower classes.
Facts.
Second row, I'm running Purify generally. It's like a default one. If a raid does not need Purify, you could play Lingering Protection or Robust. Namely, again, Helmut Belshazzar Gate 5, we used to be running Robust because it did so much shielding as like another DR, and you would kind of like rotate your shield and your DR. But other than that, I actually wouldn't really ever run Robust. Lingering actually is not that bad because it increases your shield uptime.
Right.
So I think like Lingering, if you don't need a Purify, I would go into Lingering instead. Especially again, a last balance patch, another change was they reduce shield cooldown by like 4 seconds or so. So now the uptime on it is really good.
Interesting.
So yeah, and then the last one is just healing, right? Like it's a really nice heal, so why not? Second counter, Executioner's Sword. Here's like a couple people are running some different builds. First one, definitely you run excellent mobility, so you get like a bit of a move forward, right? Second one, I'm running this one for weak point. But when you don't need weak points, some people are running breath control. It allows you like to animation cancel into the next skill faster. It's really like niche. It's really not that necessary. I feel like normally you just run this weak point and just default and that's it. But there's again hell mode when it's a bit more like cut through, like a bit more cutthroat, a bit more all or nothing, right? I was running a bit of breath control as well, just to like improve my uptimes, especially because you don't need if you don't need weak point, right? Yeah. And then for third one, I personally prefer the up and down slash. Some people are playing broad slash. I think both are good. Broad slash can be a bit deceiving. That's the only problem with broad slash. It can be a bit deceiving because when you use your executioner's when you use sword, right? It hits like in front of you, right? And that exact point. So if I look here, right? It's gonna my executioner sword is gonna hit here, right in front of me on my cursor. So even if you're running the wide one, right? If you're running the wide one, and the boss is like here, and you're like, oh yeah, the white thing will hit it. No, the counter happens in front of it, not on the side.
Oh wow.
So that's why some people are recommending to use this one just to like really make sure, okay, you know where the counter is, right in front of it. Right, exactly. So you don't get like confused by this broad slash, like, because it's not countering on the side. It's just only countering directly in front. So yeah. The good thing about this counter is it's very quick. On the other build that I run, or sometimes if I don't run Overwhelm on it, I just run Gale Wind on it just to be even quicker, to have like a really like boss lights up blue, you have it up, you just send it. All right, like there's not many counters that are as fast as Executioner if you use Gale Wind on it, and it really like makes sure that you can get some of those really quick counters off. Next is Godsend. I forgot to say the rune on this. Yeah, Godsend. Again, it used to be like pretty annoying when I first started playing Helmut Breshaza. And whenever I used Godsend, I had to spacebar after it because there was no tenacity. Now, luckily, tenacity came, so everyone should be using tenacity on it. 111 just by default. There is some talk in having a second brand on it with Light's Vestige, but I don't think that's really necessary. It's again more of a hell mode try hard thing if you're looking for it, but tenacity is just too good.
Interesting.
But yeah, it used to be a lot more relevant because there was no tenacity here on this side, so there was only like a radius on this. So some people actually run the brand on it, because Sword of Justice kind of hits a bit delayed, so to get the branding a start. But right now, I don't think there's any question about it. I think your brand options are good, and I think tenacity is way too good to pass on. So just run 111. Heavenly Blessing, your your skill number one when it comes to attack power. You're always running 3-3-3-1. Valor is your attack power buff. This is your meter again, because this skill actually, like, unlike other supports, especially for Paladin, your AP skills are actually really good meter builders. That's why you also run Vault on it, and you run Fate on it. And an Absolute Blessing, the greatest thing about this skill is that, again, last balance patch, a bit of a Paladin balance patch, we actually got attack speed on it as well. So we're not the only class that doesn't have attack speed now. Paladin also grant attack speed with Heavenly Blessing now.
For the people in the back, take notes, okay? Yush.
And then Wrath of God, the other rotational AP skill. Pretty simple, wide, so you got people even there further. There's nothing else to take. 3-2-2, nothing special. This one gives you AP, this one gives meter again wealth, because you want some more meter on this skill.
Right.
That's pretty much it for skills. Tripods, runes, I think we went over it, right? So yeah, I think we went over this one.
The gems now.
That's all right, gems. My gems are not ideal. I have a pretty wide roster. I push a lot of things, so my gems are definitely not a end game Paladin support level. But at the same time, there's sometimes really no reason to improve them more than what it already is. I had, if I went into order, you really want Heavenly Blessing.
I was going to ask you that.
Gem level 8.
I was going to ask you that. If why you have to prioritize in regards to gems?
Yeah.
What's the question here?
Yeah, we're gonna go higher prior is Heavenly Blessing, level 8, tier 4, level 10, tier 3, however you want to say it. I would definitely prioritize this skill. I had this back in Volton days already. I bought this really early on. It made a world of difference. Heavenly Blessing is like the longest attack power cooldown skill, the longest cooldown among all the attack powers of all the supports. So you kind of really need a high for good uptime. You really want like I would say 8. I mean now with elixirs and with magic stream, you get a little bit better. You don't really need it level 8, but you can like do like level 6, level 7. It's still fine.
Yes.
But if you had to prioritize, definitely Heaven Blessing.
Interesting.
Next would be Light of Judgment. As I said, this is a huge meter builder right now, so that would be my next one to be in priority list. And then the third and fourth would be the 2 shields, your Godsend and your Holy Protection. That would be your third and fourth in terms of priority. And then, like, the thing is, your blue skills, you don't really use them off cooldown, so you sometimes hold them for counter. You don't really use them during aura. You don't really want to like use them for meter evasion as well, because sometimes they like take a lot of mana, and you kind of like you don't have mana for using other skills, so you don't really need that big cooldown on them. You're not really gonna be sending off cooldown, so it's more like I'm just upgrading them for the sake of getting more attack power, because this attack power on support actually doesn't matter.
This guy is an or indeed, my lord. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really only because of attack power on this. And then also Wrath of God, I only have level 6 as well, because Wrath of God is, on the contrary to Heavenly Blessing, one of the shortest cooldowns skills when it comes to attack power skills. So I think you could even run this skill without gem and you would have perfect uptime, but you just run it like level 5, level 6 is fine. It's really not that big of a deal. And then it's your damage gems. Again, since we're in tier 4 right now, you run your 2 AP skills and your aura skill on damage. Ideally, I upgrade this to 8 soon, but we'll see how we go with money, right? But yeah, we're gonna be upgrading this to like level 8 probably soon, especially with me having 2 paladins and so. Like it's a pretty big deal, right? It's an extra 1% support effect on this, so if you are in tier 4 right now, you see a lot of if you're a support and you're like, let's say you're on tier 2 gems, and you're like, why are you getting gate cap? Why are you getting gate cap? People actually want supports to be on tier 4 gems because tier 4 damage gems and support matter now.
It's big.
You want to upgrade to level tier 4 gems and support because you get more damage on your, well, basically both of your AP skills and on your aura, and it's actually like meaningful. So if anyone's like thinking like, oh, it's my red character, I just have tier 3 event gems, you will probably get gate cap because it does matter now. So yeah.
Take notes, please. Oh. All right. And engravings and stone now.
Yeah. So engravings, it's pretty. There's a couple of like default ones right now. Obviously, Awakening, especially also when it comes to stone for supports in general, you want Awakening Stone, because when you change to tier 4, in tier 3 your Awakening cooldown, if you had max legendary books, was 50%. In tier 4, if you have max legendary books, it's only 44%. The only way to reach 50% is to get Awakening 6 stone, or like if you go Awakening 7, Awakening 9, you get more. As you see like on the bottom there on my ability stone, right now I have Awakening, this is a 9/6 stone, Awakening drops. Awakening is on 9, which means my Awakening is extra 10.5% cooldown, which means that right now my Awakening cooldown is 54%. Back in tier 3 it was 50%, right? So every support, if you are running a stone, run Awakening Stone. That there's no doubt on that. Always run Awakening Stone. If you have Awakening 7 stone, it's already better than your Awakening in tier 3. So the cooldown's already better, so that's just something you should be doing. 9 is a luxury, but it's not really needed. Paladin as a support benefits a bit more from Awakening than other to support, so having it as high as possible is pretty good.
Interesting. You don't use heavy armor. For some people that will use heavy armor, you know.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the other 2 things would be Expert Magic Stream. Paladin has decent shielding, like in its base skills, so Expert's pretty good, and you're just healing with aura, so just healing more, even better. Magic Stream with tier 4 change is one of the best engravings out there. It gives you like a really good cooldown reduction. It's pretty annoying to start the fight with Magic Stream, like 10 stacks is a lot, so you kind of have to spam a lot in the base, so it just depends how try hard you are. It depends on my mood as well. If I'm like in a mood to try hard, like I'm gonna go before each gate, like stack 10 skills, but 10 skills is basically 2 rotations, right? So you have to start early. So yeah, that's a bit annoying. But then also like in the middle of a fight, sometimes you're like, oh wait, like because we supports are sometimes we just like wander off, with our minds wander off, or like oh it's like a like we don't need to do anything here. But
you're like chilling in the zone.
exactly right. But nowadays we have our own adrenaline, so yeah, try to upkeep Magic Stream,
Right.
even in the middle of a fight where there's nothing to do. Drops of Ether, in my opinion, as long as you upgrade drops to relic or have a stone on it, drops is like a really good engraving right now. So what happened with drops of Ether is that relic, book, and stone increase effectiveness on drops. Right now, not on this paladin, on my other paladin, I have a drop stone. Here I'm using vital stone because my vital stone was my 9/6 stone with the awakening, and I prioritize awakening higher than drops. But on my second paladin, I have a 7/7 stone with drops and awakening. And what this does is that, flash orb, if you drop a flash orb, it's a 15% crit. But now that I have max relic books and level 7 stone on it, it's not 15% crit, it's actually 19% crit.
Yeah, it's
right?
big.
So that's what happens with drops of Ether in tier 4, is that it increases the effectiveness of those drops. And my strength orbs are not going to be 10%, but it's going to be 13%, right?
Yes.
So that's why. I think also Paladin has the luxury of not running heavy armor because it's inherently tanky enough to not run it. Especially on our current rates. Like maybe for Brashaza, when it comes out, maybe it's like gonna hurt a lot and you're gonna be looking into it. But right now, not really. Like there's no raid that you really need heavy armor for. Even Tiamat Gate 4, as long as you're in tier 4, 1640 plus,
you don't really...
I would say don't run heavy armor. There's better engravings out there.
3K for that.
Yeah. And then this is vital point. Again, as I said, Paladin does not need... there's some supports that, like Artist, Bard will kind of want to have heavy armor. Bard will want to have max MP still, so they kind of don't have the room for it, right? Plus, their stagger is not like... Their normal builds, their default builds don't really like run that much stagger, while Paladin's default builds still can run a lot of stagger.
Right, that makes sense.
Vital point is like probably like just a default engraving for Paladin as well. I would recommend it. It a lot of stagger checks Paladin just solos with 2 blue skills, so it's really just helps the party like not having to like overcommit or anything on stagger. And then if sometimes like a stagger is a DPS uptime check, you can just hold your blue skills until like a little bit of time, just let your team DPS on it, like if there's no DR, right? And then like when you see like, oh, the time is about to expire, you just use your holy sword, boom, stagger done, and you get max value out of it as well.
Oh, wow. So he's talking pretty much about Echidna Gate 1, when you go to one side that they say whatever the color it is, and then the target goes to the right side. That stagger is not DR, so you can actually do a lot of damage. But when the time is running, boom, you stagger afterwards.
For example, that's
huge.
Good example was I think recently I was doing some Helmut Clown, and if in Clown in Gate 1, it's a bit of a throwback. You guys might need to like think of it back a bit. But in Clown in Gate 1, there's a mechanic where he has like a shield in front and in the back, and then you can hit him from the side only, for example, or sometimes only in the front. Let's say I have a back attack party. He's not DR there, right? I have a back attack party. There's only shield in the front, and I'm like, oh, okay, so they can full DPS on this. I'm gonna hold my stagger for a little bit longer. Or even better example, more relevant right now, Tiamat Gate 3 first sword, right? You don't have to send your stagger right away into it. You can hold it a bit, let your team like DPS as much as possible on that sword, and then send your stagger. Right?
And that shit applies to me too, because I try to stagger right away to get out of it. Right. But you want to do more damage that way you feel it faster later on.
Exactly. Some people are like still like people are normally like have their openers there. Your spec classes, so your Sork wants to send like full ignite, your Scrapper wants to send full shock, right? So you don't really want to like stagger it too early there. So and Paladin, because of you have Vital and such a high stagger, you can actually kind of regulate how fast stagger checks go by like holding and using skills like that. So that's why I would say Vital is a pretty good on Paladin, right? Again, I have relic books of it because it was pretty cheap, and like I have it in stone. So this Paladin actually does what is it like 41% stagger bonus on that, so yeah, it's pretty big. So that's pretty much stone and engraving. Yep.
All right, now it will be the awakening skill and hyper skill. I'm pretty sure pretty straightforward, right?
Pretty straightforward. There's nothing really like you use this hyper skill because again, it gives you your it gives you uptime on some more damage. It stacks with everything else, so it's fine to use it on big bursts. But in my opinion, it's not good to hold it. In my opinion, you just send it off cooldown if you have a DPS party. Now, granted, there's some instances where you can hold it a bit.
Yes.
Example, TMI, not TMI, Behemoth head damage. You kind of want to have the skill for it, right?
Right.
So also, like in compared to other supports, this Paladin has the lowest cooldown, but the lowest uptime, like the duration for it. So you kind of have to take that into account. Like sometimes, like for example, just to compare it with Bard needs to like use it a bit more carefully because like your cooldown is going to be 40 seconds plus, while Paladin cooldown is going to be 30 seconds, right? So you kind of like need to like think of it about when you use it and how you use it. Use it off cooldown. Also, try to make sure, like, communicate with your DPS or like know when your DPS is gonna use Hyper Awakening. You really want to make sure that this T skill is on for a Hyper Awakening. Gives 20% extra damage to Hyper Awakening, and that's how you get those Hyper Awakening hitting 5 bill, 6 bill.
Question. Now you say that. So that doesn't apply only for the support. It actually helps the Hyper Awakening on the DPS as well too.
Exactly.
Oh wow.
Yes. Your DPS, you want to use Hyper Awakening as DPS in together with your support T skill. It has two different uptimes, for example, as well, right? There's two different buffs that you get when I use T skill. One is just a regular 10% damage increase, and the other one is 20% Hyper Awakening increase, which is a longer duration as well. It's not as tight as the other one. So if you see like only one buff on you with this kind of icon, for example, it's always going to be your Hyper Awakening buff. If you see two, then that means like you have both buffs on you right now. But yeah, you as a DPS, you want to like, and as a support, you want to make sure that you buff those Hyper Awakenings. It makes a really, really, really big difference.
So, yeah.
And then for Awakening, it's just default Awakening. This one gives more meter, gives shield. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, so I think the most important thing, well, everything is important, of course, but the rotation is pretty much what most people lack of, including myself, when it comes to for uptime and what to prioritize.
Yeah, so if we go for a quick rotation, I'll show you the second build real quick before I go there, because otherwise I have to like I think this is my build. I call it no stagger, right?
Yeah.
I don't have a different stone for it, but I have a different skill set for it. But as you see, there's only one blue skill, right? And there's holy area on it.
Holy area is
now
huge. I use that.
Holy area now. I'm using it for purely for meter. If you use grace here, this is what people use on holy area by default normally for DR, right? But this middle node actually gives you more meter, so I've been using the middle node instead. So it's definitely preferential whether you want to use the middle or third one, but if you want a bit more meter, it's the middle one. And also in this build, this is like a greedy build. There, as you see, no overwhelms. No like gale winds. It is welt. We are building meter with this build, right? We are forward building meter with this build. Conviction judgment, because you are spamming skills off cooldown. You might actually be running out of mana with Mana Furnace with this build. So yeah, this is like a secondary build. You can like just quickly like screenshot it if you want of me. Generally, the only difference is that on Holy Sword, I'm actually running Stigmata instead of Swift Fingers to have this thing on the ground as well for a bit more meter. And then I'm running Holy Area with this tripods for more meter. Everything else, tripod-wise, is the same on other skills. So yeah, that's pretty much it. But this is like the build that I have for if I want full meter. In general, the difference is not huge. The difference between getting full meter on this build and the other build, it's about 3 to 5 seconds.
Wow.
So if I go this build, for example, in Training Rods right now.
Interesting. Only 5 seconds.
Yeah, I mean it's quite big if you check it. That right now with this build, I can build Aura in roughly 15 seconds. It's pretty quick, right? But I'll show you real quick. As long as my gems stay. Now the only problem that of Trixion is that
it will send the gems.
It's that it doesn't have the gems, and the reason for that is because it doesn't count. Gems that are below level 7 don't count, right? It needs to be level 7 or higher, and I have some level 6s still. So let me just put those gems in real quick. This, and sort of just this. Okay. So if I do, let me just. So I'm gonna. The reason why I'm doing this is because Magic Stream and Luminary actually make a difference. So I'm gonna quickly farm those 2 up, and then we're gonna like check how much. But you see, like my mana's already pretty much
Yeah,
running out,
yeah.
right? So it's the problem of this build, right? I'm gonna wait for my mana to fill up as well as I keep up this, and then I'm gonna show you how fast like you actually build meter on this build. All right. Oh, I recover. Okay, that's not good. I recovered yours. The problem of recovering resources here is that it feels
Yeah,
bad
yeah,
aura.
yeah. All right, yeah.
Like here's the problem: if I cancel aura, it's actually just gonna keep it still, right? It's not empty because that's what it does to aura now.
That's
So you
so
actually
big,
have
bro.
to
That's
let it
so
drain.
big.
It's big for actual raids, you know.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it
that's
still
big.
recovers. It's like sometimes you're like, oh, we should recover it a little bit more, but and I think it recovers enough. It's a pretty big like compromise compared to not having this before, right? So.
Crazy.
All right, so if we start the fight, we go Sword of Justice, this. I don't have mana right now, so which is a bit annoying. Okay, let's try that again. Let's try that again. This. Okay, let's just wait out the aura and let's keep the mana.
Wow, it went out of mana right away. Wow.
No, it's because I didn't have mana because I was spamming before. I didn't
Okay,
actually start with full mana, so that was the problem. But you see, like this buff here is like I get extra 15% mana here.
Right.
Okay, so here we go. So we got reset cooldown, star test. Okay, there we go. This. And my aura is already like full. I can already use aura in 15 seconds, right? In 17 seconds, my aura is completely full.
Wow.
This is basically the build where you build aura as fast as you can, right?
Wow.
This is build where you build aura as fast as you can, and it's like, let's say in the other build, I would reach that same portion, like the 70%, in around 18 seconds compared to 15, and I would reach full aura in around 22 seconds compared to 18. So it's around 3 to 4 seconds different between a default build and this build. Again, not that big of a deal.
But in a long fight, it is.
It can be, yeah. It can be. But at the same time, you're sacrificing a lot, right? You're sacrificing 2 overwhelms. You're sacrificing another counter.
Right.
You're sacrificing your holy sword. The other problem is, right? When you do, for example, you need to know that when you use holy sword, it leaves this tray on the ground. It's what happened to me when I played this build for the first time in Behemoth, for example, right? It's a dummy, so of course I'm gonna go for the aura building build. Is I use this skill on a pillar for that you need to like hit a bunch of times, and then this thing stayed on the ground and it actually destroyed the pillar afterwards. So you really need to be careful with this, right? Because you're not used to having this on your holy sword, but you actually have it now. Exactly, yeah. This is basically the rotation. It's in general, you just go by priority of your wealth runes.
I was gonna ask you something that is big for me and for a lot of people that I'm pretty sure that they're not aware of this, and this question is super important. In regard to your damage buff, right? Do you use it after the damage is off, or you use it on cooldown?
Well, I have
because somebody told me that I was overlapping my damage. That was my uptime wasn't as better. But I see you spamming the skill still, and then still your uptime is gonna be good, right?
Yeah. So as I said, your Wrath of God is a really low cooldown.
Right.
So if you just use it, like let's say I'm using my 2 skills when like my for uptime, right? So I use my Heavenly Blessing, and now we're watching, right?
Right.
Now we're watching.
Exactly.
You also have to know. So now I use the other one.
Oh,
right?
so whenever you finish, right?
So that's like what people think, but it's actually not correct. The reason why is because your Wrath of God and your Heavenly Blessing are really good meter gens or meter generators, right? So what you're looking instead of when you know that you can have perfect uptimes, you're actually looking at your cooldowns. Okay,
right.
You have to know that the duration of your buff is roughly 7 seconds. So as long as you hit 7-second cooldown on one of these 2, you can already press the other one. You don't have to watch your duration.
Right.
So for example, I use this one here, right? It's 7 seconds, 6, 5, 4, 3. But now I see it's 7 seconds right now. I can already use the other one.
Right.
And you see, it's actually going to be still fine.
That's what I'm saying, bro. So I was doing it right.
The other thing you have to know, the other thing you have to know about Heavenly Blessing, the other thing you need to know about Heavenly Blessing is that it actually I don't think my gems are applying right now. But the other about Heavenly Blessing is that, so if I use this, right? And then next thing I'm going to use Heavenly Blessing. You have to know that Heavenly Blessing takes about 1 second to come up.
Right.
So you want to use it 1 second before your timer goes down, right? Because it takes about 1 second for Heavenly Blessing to come up. Again, I'm going to use this one here because I'm going to know, like, you see, like, Heavenly Blessing, I can use it off cooldown because it's always going to catch. But if I use it here, right, it's not up yet. It's up now, right?
Wow,
it's roughly 1 second.
That's
so
what
if you
I'm
want
saying.
perfect uptime, you have to overlap your Heavenly Blessing over Wrath of God a little bit.
That's what I'm
And Wrath of God is
saying,
such a low cooldown that even if you overlap it like 2 seconds in, it's no problem. Like I can send it right now. Right, I can send it right now, no problem.
Let's go.
So,
that's a big question.
Definitely. If you have similar gems to me, if you have Magic Stream and Luminary, you're able to pretty much send Heavenly Blessing off cooldown, no matter what cooldown is in this. And then for Wrath of God, you just look at your Heavenly Blessing, 7 seconds, boom. Okay. Heavenly Blessing, you don't have to look at anything. You can just send it off cooldown because your Wrath of God is such a low cooldown that you never have to like look at anything else. You just send it. And again, Heavenly Blessing is also now your attack speed buff, so you kind of want to like send it as much as possible. You don't want to just hold it for like this uptimes. You want to like always prioritize and send Heavenly Blessing first, right? So the moment it's up, it just insta send.
All right, so the last question will be before jumping into the chat to see if they have any questions. Is when can you when will be better for you to transition to the art passive? Because people want to know, they say, oh, what about 1 piece, 2 piece, 3 pieces, 4 pieces, Like,
I get this question a lot, and it was especially like I was getting people like looking at what I'm doing with Arc Passive, and like they would do the same thing, and then they would say, like, someone would say, for example, I transferred to Arc Passive on 2 pieces personally.
Yeah, I see a lot of
there's some people there's some people that came to my chat and they were like, I transferred to Arc Passive on 2 pieces, and then someone yelled at me, why am I on Arc Passive on 2 pieces when I'm weaker right now, right? So the problem is when you're on 2 pieces on Arc Passive, your points are looking like this, right? This is what you're looking like. You're getting 7% attack power instead of 12% from Yearning that you would have in tier 3 without Arc Passive, right? This is what 2 pieces look like. So my reasoning behind transferring on 2 pieces already is, 1, I want to have this cooldown and like this tree, like the entire leap tree is like a big boost for supports. Number 2 is you get this mana tree as well. And then number 3 is that if you actually buy somewhat okay accessories, you're actually gonna cover for like the missing
5%
damage that this is 5. You're missing 5% damage here,
right.
But if your accessories are decent, you're actually gonna cover for that with your accessories,
right? And gaining other things,
right? So for example, I just
5 head, guys.
There we go. For example, like this supports, I pushed these 3 supports, like they're not 1680 yet. These three supports just got 3 pieces this week, but then before this, for 2 weeks, I was playing on 2 pieces, right? And I was playing Arc Passive on 2 pieces already. But what I did on those supports is I was buying rings that were essentially, this one's a bit too strong. This one's like a little bit too weak, but it's ancient, so it's fine. I was essentially buying like a mid or a high-low rings. And I was buying a brand power, maybe mid, maybe high necklace. Yes, and with that, you actually already like were doing fine because supports, as I said earlier, when we were looking at Arc Passive, right? In this 3, you only need 1 point here, 1 point here. Everything else is pretty much worthless. Like you're really not gonna notice it at all. So, which means that you're allowed to play this with only 2 ancients, which means that you can play 3 relics, and relic rings and relic necklace are really strong for supports right now. So if you can get those like pretty good, those can last you for a very long time, right? You don't have to replace those for a very, very long time. So that's the reason why I went on 2-piece Arc Passive, is because it, first of all, like also you don't have to deal with that stupid ass circle. So with the Yearning circle, right? So it's just, and if you have good accessories, it's just enough. So yeah, I would suggest, if people don't mind, I think these accessories are pretty cheap right now. I mean, I'm pretty sure I have them like saved still here. So if we check right now, this is EU market for those that are interested. This is like a mid ring. You get it for like 30k.
Oh, that's pretty good.
You get a mid ring for 30k, and this ring will last you for a very long time. If you want like a high low, maybe 43k.
Which is
It's
not
maybe a
bad
bit
stuff.
expensive, but again, like this ring will last you your 1680. My 1680 supports will run this ring still. My support at 1700 might even run it still because I gained so little by transferring to ancient,
Right.
and this is already like almost like the best, right? Like obviously, if you're gonna run something like high ring like this, is gonna cost you even at relic, right? It's gonna be 600.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not spending this much, or even mid high rings. There's a couple supports that I have mid high. It's still 100k plus, right?
Right.
So. But if you get like for a solid like 20 to 40k, sometimes like if you like look, there's nothing on recent prices right now, sadly, but I was trying to snipe a lot, right? And like if you go recent price, look, there's like one went up for 5k. Snipe this, you get a mid ring for 5k. It's really good. You can use it for almost forever, right? Like this two went out for 30k. So if you just make like this kind of like preset here and like just keep sniping like accessories for supports, and then you can use them for a long time. But yeah, you can swap on two pieces for that.
Any questions, chat? Any questions? It's nice to support accessories. Noted. People are getting smart now. Before support rings were cheap 5 to 10k. Now they are like 40, 50k. Xmusiiiq's daddy. Yeah, I got one. Which one is it? What game is it? What a savage. What road should we be looking for the earrings? Question mark. Xmusiiiq.
Oh yeah, on earrings you're generally only looking for attack weapon power. Attack power doesn't really. So this is like a example of a earring that is perfectly fine on support. Max roll on weapon power percent. Now what you could do better is maybe have weapon power normal roll without like the percent roll as well, which would be even better. But as long as you're getting like for like let's say you're a budget support, you're gonna have something like 1.8% weapon power or so like that, like some like mid-roll weapon power, like that would be pretty decent already for supports. But like if you want to have something like a bit more premier, just max weapon power percent, that's pretty much it. You don't really need anything else on supports. Or on Paladin, for example. Max HP, it's nice, not necessary. Attack power percent doesn't do anything. Attack power doesn't do anything. Recovery and like shields for party members don't really matter either. So just look for that weapon power percent. That's it.
So well, that it is. Tell them Boost said I'm Daddy Paladin. And Boost, he got 100 quality everything. That Paladin is crazy, Boost Paladin.
Yep.
Yeah, well, claps for music, guys. Make sure to follow him right here, and then I'm gonna be posting this on YouTube with his YouTube's information, everything that he sent me. Make sure to follow him and make sure to give some claps. Actually, next time I'm going to have the chat here on the right side. That way we can have the chat moving and when you guys ask questions and why not too. And, well, thank you so much for taking of your time, bro. And you come with me for whatever, you know?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I think it was like a pretty well done interview. Thanks for the questions and for the heads up. I appreciate you also involving me in this project. I really like enjoy doing this and like sharing some knowledge. So yeah, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, bro. Much love, Papi. I'll see you around, okay?